People that listened to metal when I grew up were listening to fucking butt rock, Winger or whatever, you know. Sucked then and sucks even worse now. I didn't really start listening to metal until my brother started playing me stuff like Bolt Thrower and Obituary. And those were the first two metal bands that I was like, yeah, man, this shit's gnarly. I grew up listening to English punk rock. The first real band I heard was the Sex Pistols. And then through the skateboarding community, I started getting turned on to Black Flag, the Misfits, Big Black, and the weirder stuff. But I always considered metal kind of stupid in high school. In Richmond, where we live, there's like a really metallic sort of math rock scene with Breadwinner, Butterglove, Slang Louse, that came out of the hardcore and punk scene, but got really smart and really metallic, you know, because they had the virtuosity of metal players, but came from the more political and angst-ridden punk rock scene. So Richmond at the time when I moved there in '89 and on through the mid-90s was really a melting pot of that metal and punk. I was in a band, a really bad band, with the old guitar player in Burn the Priest, Abe Spear. We had a really crappy band called Stink Hogan. The bass player wanted to be like Charles Mingus. The drummer wanted to be in the Smashing Pumpkins. Abe, our guitar player, wanted to either be in Sepultura or Jimi Hendrix, and I wanted to be in the Bad Brains. So it was like this fucked up train wreck. So when that band split up, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go travel for a while. So I was riding freight trains and shit. And before I left, Abe came to me and he's like, hey, I got a killer new band, dude. I want you to sing for it. And I was like, our last band sucked. I don't think so, dude. You know, so I split and I was gone all summer, like out bumming around and across the country being a crusty bum. And when I got back, I got off a freight train in the west end of Richmond, Virginia. So I got off and walked down the tracks and walked to a payphone, because this is before cell phones, and I called Abe. And I said, Abe, I just got back into town. I'm in the West End. Can you come get me? Because he was the only dude I knew who had a car. He's like, sure, and my band is playing a house party tonight. And I'm like, okay, great, whatever. I'll come see your band. There'll be free beer. So I show up with the girl I'm dating at the time, and I hear this fucking heavy music coming from out back, and I'm like, what is that? That sounds awesome. Never thinking it could possibly be Abe's band. And I walk around back, and Burn the Priest is playing. And it's loud as fuck, and it's killer. And the cops show up, and they're shining their lights into this garage where they're playing through like the windows. Then they're on the loudspeakers going, stop, stop. The guys didn't stop. They just got down lower beneath like the lights as if they're hiding or something. And there's like, 300 people at this fucking house party. And I was like, that's fucking punk rock as fuck. They don't give a fuck. The police are here, tell them to stop, and they're not. And I looked at my girlfriend at the time and I said, that's the band I'm gonna sing for. DIY, do it yourself, of course, coming from the punk rock scene, means that no one's going to hand you anything, so you have to go out and grind and do it yourself. Metallica wasn't calling us and saying, I love your band, do you want to come out and tour with us? No, nobody gave a fuck whatsoever. Luckily, there was a resource put out by this magazine, Maximum Rock and Roll, and it was called Book Your Own Fucking Life. And it was a listing of a loose connection of punk rock kids who would put on shows. So what you would do is call them or write them a letter and say, hey, we're coming on tour, this is our band. Some of them, maybe you could send them a demo cassette, can you give us a show? And they would say yes or no. You get in the van and save your money, and you go and you show up to the town. You call this person on the payphone, and hopefully they'll pick up. Hopefully they have remembered to book a show for you. Hopefully if they did, there will be a PA. Hopefully they've made at least a flyer. Hopefully someone will be there. And you go around and play every little town, wherever anyone will have you, you know, and put in the miles. And come home skinnier and broke, you know, and you do that for years. And then maybe eventually someone will pay attention to you and start to help you out with management, booking, maybe get you a record deal. That is DIY. Rio, DIY space over in Alphabet City, that area. Remember the first time we played CBGB, Ralphie Boy from Disassociate and Jesus Crust, New York City, punk rock guy booked us there. We played first at the Mad Grinders Ball. It was like a fucking 18 band bill. We were like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I thought, this is it. This is as big as it's gonna get. I have made it to CBGB, and I am fucking okay with that. And I was losing my mind. I was like, oh my God, this is the birthplace of punk rock, the music that saved my life. And then a year later, we were headlining and selling it out. Our first Burn the Priest album was a split 7-inch with a band called Zed. And the guy who put it out was a kid named Mikey Brosnan, who I met squatting in California. He was like, I'm gonna start a record label and put out your first 7-inch. The record label came named Legion. That's why the Burn the Priest covers album is called Legion. It's out of respect for Mikey, who got killed by a drunk driver. He was a huge part of our career. I think labels saw us as a little bit of a risky investment. Everybody thought we would break up because, I mean, we're alcoholics and...
Hey, will someone give me a beer? Can we please get a beer up here? Please, just one. I'll pay you back later.
He was like, well, I put out the first 7-inch. I'm gonna put out your album. So my friend Mikey did it himself. He got a credit card, maxed it out, and we used that to go to Massachusetts and record with Steve Austin. Sleeping on the floor of the studio next to one Mr. Bron Daler of Macedon. I knew Steve, of course, was a singer from Today Is the Day, so I was like, do you want to get on one of these tracks? It'd be cool. He's like, yeah. That dude is one of the loudest fucking human beings when he does vocals I've ever heard. He's like, the fucked up thing, screaming. It's like, ugh! And Mikey is just my homie. But he had a really kind of snotty punk rock screaming voice. So we were all there. It's like, just jump in. I recorded all the vocals to the Burn the Priest album in 10 hours or something, like a day and a half, because it was everybody get there, Chris Adler set up, take a million years to get his drum sound right. Nothing has changed. He sits there, gets up there, because he's real anal about shit, and they track the guitars. and they track the bass. When you have 8 to 10 hours left in your budget, it's time to do the vocals. Never recorded an album before. Here, hurry up! Record 15 songs, go! And it sucked. I remember at one point Steve looking at me through the control room and going, Randy, if you don't get this right the next time, I'm gonna come through there and kill you. Sometimes Steve would be like, good enough, you know? And that's what's on the record, you know? But that's like, I mean, that's punk rock, you know? And that's low budget metal as well, you know? You only have this much money. It's not gonna be perfect.